Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mind Story, our monthly awareness talk. My name is Charlie. I'm a registered counselor for Mind Story. So before I start, let me briefly introduce about Mind Story. So here in Mind Story, we provide services for children with special needs and also difficulties like academic delays, sensory delays, developmental delays, behavioral and emotional difficulties, as well as physical delays. So our team, we have professionals from different background. We have academic support, which is special needs teacher, special education teacher, behavior therapist, a clinical psychologist, counselor, occupational therapist, reading therapist, as well as physiotherapist. You can contact us and WhatsApp us if you have any inquiry or you have any suggestions for our future awareness talk. You can also email us at mindstory at admin@mindstory.com.my, and our operating hours is Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and Sundays by fire appointment only, and we are closed during public holiday. Okay. And then you can check us out at our Facebook, mindstory.my. This is where we will post our monthly events. And also you can check out our website at mindstory.com.my, our Instagram at mindstory.my, and our LinkedIn at mindstory, Pusat Latihan Kanak-Kanak Berkebutuhan Khas. Okay, so today our topic is about support group. Those who joined us last week, we also have another support group online. This week we have Miss Rosa Maria. She is the founder of My ND Group. Okay, and then a lot of parents are asking, like, because last week we talked about autism group, and some of the parents also asking, is there any other support group that not just specifically for autism? So here today we have Miss Rosa to here to share with us about her support group. Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Rosa.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me over.
No problem. Thank you for joining our monthly awareness talk. Yeah, it's really good to have people from support group and come and share with us about this support group, so that a lot more people know the importance and what's the function of support group. I mean, how do you come about with a support group? Oh, right. Okay, so there's a few questions that I'll ask, and if our audience here, those who join us today, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the comment box. Okay, so I can bring it up to Ms. Rosa. Okay, so firstly, would you like to briefly introduce about yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Rosa. I'm from Spain. I've been living in Malaysia for 24 years. My husband is Malaysian, so is my son. And the reason why the support group came about is because a group of us whose children were in the same school, we got a diagnosis for our children more or less at the same time. And then we realized there was not much support for all of us. So basically, we were pretty much in limbo. Whatever we knew, and we shared among ourselves, but that was it. So then a mom whose child had been diagnosed a year before had the idea of creating a support group for parents of children who are newly diagnosed or who already have a diagnosis, but they don't have a support group. So that's how the group came about. And initially it started in WhatsApp because that was the first way to organize all of us. WhatsApp is free. We can communicate with each other. We can share things. We can ask questions. And then the group grew. And what happened was that we were sharing so many things. We decided to start in Facebook, a free Facebook group. That's how the whole thing came about. That's when I started the Facebook group because the other parents were very busy working, dealing. So I started the Facebook group, but it first started with WhatsApp.
May I know when you start this support group?
It was 2017.
All right, 2017. And those who are familiar with Ms. Rosa today, and you know that they have changed their name. It used to be PSG, Parent Support Group in Facebook, but now they changed to My ND Support Group.
Yes.
Okay, I've been wanting to ask this. So what does ND stand for?
Neurodivergent or
Neuro.
neurodiverse. Yeah. So it's open to everybody. It's not just for autism, it's for all the different conditions. Children, teenagers, adults are diagnosed with, and then the parents may need support. So mainly what we do is that in the Facebook group, is very few of us who are active, but the others, we share, for example, articles, and then we put the hashtag. So anybody else who comes in can actually search on the hashtag, and you can read all the articles we're sharing. Parent can post questions, ask for suggestions, and so on.
Okay, that's very good. Yeah. So as we can hear that this is briefly about Ms. Rosa and about herself, like why she started My ND group. So it's neurodiversified, meaning that not only autism but other children, or as long as they have a certain special needs.
Yes. The one more thing I want to say is because I myself am dyslexic. So I was diagnosed many years ago, as you can imagine, I was 8. And I remember back then, science was not as advanced as it is today. So what was known then is not what we know now. Luckily for us, science has helped us to know a lot more about the different conditions. But I remember my parents having to go to a psychologist or a doctor, reading books, because back then we didn't have the internet for all of us, right? So I remember when my son was going through the assessment, for me it was not new because I myself had been through this years ago. Okay. What I noticed is that it's a lot nicer now when you get diagnosed than back then. But I remember some of the parents in this group who would say, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know. And that is when we thought, okay, we need to create something because some of us already have some experience. We've been through this from the perspective of the child, not just the parent. The perspective of the child, of the teenager is as important because the integrity of the child has to be respected. That is what I think helped us create the group, to help everybody move forward and help the children too.
Yeah, that's very good. Like this is one of the reason like I include support group when I work with parents, not only treatment for the child, but normally I do talk about support group. But I believe there's some challenges as well, like you said. Part of the reason why you started this because you said it's in limbo, everyone not sure what to do, and I believe in 2017 is not as like right now, where information is widely, well, 5 years ago and today is so much difference. I believe, yeah. And then also, like you said, like it's important to share the experience around from the child's perspective, like you mentioned that what to do, where to go. Yeah. Do you have the similar situation with your child when your child was diagnosed?
Yes, actually, pretty similar in the sense that when I was being diagnosed as a child, they knew there was a learning difficulty, but they didn't know exactly what it was. Please bear in mind that this was many years ago in a different country. And, these days we have buzzwords everybody repeats, like we have terms like autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. These are the most common ones people always talk about. Imagine that back then people didn't even know what dyslexia is, what dyslexia was, right? So I remember going to this center where I would be diagnosed and I was lost. My parents didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. And then they came up with the word dyslexia. Okay, what is this? So I see many parents when the school, the center where the child is at, they themselves realize there are certain development milestones that are not achieved, or when the child cannot cope academically, and the red flags are raised, parents are told about it, and they start this process of the process of diagnosing the child, okay? Some parents are lost, they don't know what's going on. So I remember for us, we knew we had gone to a developmental pediatrician who had first done some screenings. So 7 or 8 conditions were ruled out. And then we knew it would either be dyscalculia or dysgraphia, but you still had to do a proper thorough assessment to determine what it is and the level of intervention the child would need, because we're talking about dysgraphia, who is somebody who has difficulty writing, but there are 4 types of dysgraphia. For example, dyslexic dysgraphia, the letters are wrong. Another type of dysgraphia, the child cannot even form proper sentences in the mind. So you need to know exactly where the child is at. That's why you do a diagnosis. Diagnosis is not for you to put a label on a child and to condemn a child. It's not like that. It's not the child's fault. It's nobody's fault. Diagnosis is done by an expert to tell the adults in the life of the child where the child is at, where we have to meet the child and help the child progress according to the difficulties. And that's why we engage people who do therapy. So I remember going through with my son through this process thinking, okay, so dyslexia has been ruled out. It's not ADHD, it's not autism. There is something else. And I remember going through exactly the same process, the feeling. So because I had been through this, we talked to my son about it and we told him, okay, there's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, but we need to know where you're at. And from there, we take it onwards. There is no point, and please do not blame children for this. Do not blame parents. Do not blame yourself. Do not blame anyone. We need diagnosis because we need to know where the child is at. That's the end. Okay.
Yes.
So I remember for me, I was going through the same thing, but I remember at the same time, I saw other parents who were going through the same process and they were overwhelmed. And the truth is that going through the process of having a diagnosis is overwhelming for the child, because the child realizes there is something going on and they cannot quite know and identify what it is. And the parents see themselves as, am I going to be able to cope? Can I help the child? Will I be able to afford it? Which is a very real thing, let's face it. So I remember there was a lot of similarities, and I remember feeling that feeling of overwhelmness, thinking story is repeating itself. And I remember thinking, now we know things we didn't know then. Now we have access to things we didn't have access then. So we can overcome.
Yeah, that's very good. Like basically, Miss Rosa has really mentioned one of the two, based on her experience, it can be part of the purpose of a support group. Because one thing that she mentioned is the process of diagnosis. It can be confusing sometimes, be it at the private hospital or government hospital. It can be confusing at sometimes, and parents not sure what to go and what to do, where to go next. And back in the days, even I myself, I didn't know that there's a pediatrician, even though I'm in the mental health background, but I didn't know that there is a specific doctors who study developmental milestone, who are specialized in it, and they are called a developmental pediatrician. Back in the days, it's very rare, like it's less than 5 of them in Malaysia, but now it's growing. Now there's 12. But the number is going up. But yeah, this is very important because like without the support group, I learned this information from other parents as well, like where to go, so that I can help parents to support them in a way that what's the planning, like what to do next. Okay. And the second thing, which I think is very important as well, that Ms. Rosa have shared about her experience, like the whole parents are being overwhelmed. Like I can't imagine the number of times parents have to go through assessment because we need to rule out. Yes, and then especially something like specific learning difficulty or disorder, SLD, like this is not autism, this is not, so they have to go very specific. So I believe Ms. Rosa also have to go through different stages, different
Yes.
yeah. So this is the process where when we feel overwhelmed, yes, although you can speak to a counselor like me, but I believe not every parents are quite open up to counseling and guidance because of the stigma that we have.
Yes.
Yeah. So And then by having a support group, and this is the thing that I always outline to parents, the emotional support, okay, and the process of going through diagnosis again and again and again, the child feels stressed out, parents still like feel stressed out as well. The waiting time can be long. Like some of them waited a year or so and more to see a doctor. Okay, and then therapies. Yeah. So like this is the thing that what feel of the purpose why parents support group is quite important. Okay, and not only to talk about what I can provide to my child, but also to share, like Miss Rosa, I have gone through the journey, and like for example, I might not know that it's a dyslexia, then by being in a support group, I can learn more about dyslexia.
Yes, something else that I have to say, for example, the group started with 5 or 6 parents in WhatsApp. Now we have 75.
Mm.
And in the parent support group, okay, first of all, rules are important. For example, if you want to share something that is an advertising, in our group, it's only done on Fridays to make sure there is not too much information being shared about external factors. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, it's very common for a parent to arrive to the group and say, okay, the teacher has said they have observed this in the child and we have observed this. Now, how do we go from here? So based on the other parent's experience, we can tell the parent, make sure you contact a developmental pediatricians. These are the developmental pediatricians in the area. Maybe in the meantime, you might want to check with the psychologist and then you recommend, okay, and then for example, a parent arrives to the group and says, okay, we have a diagnosis. We've been recommended to do occupational therapy, language and speech and language. However, what has been recommended is out of our budget. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. I mean, different families have different financial situation. It can change at any time and nobody's going to judge that. We shouldn't judge parents for this. So what happens is, for example, we can say, can you recommend somebody who's good, who might be more affordable, or who might be able to teach me certain things too? So other parents would tell you, okay, maybe this one is too expensive, but I tried this other one and it proved very good results, is caring, is able to connect with the child because that connection is very important. And this is cheaper. Or maybe you can go to this other center. Something else that has happened in the past, especially since the beginning of the pandemic, is that more and more parents are resorting to use the services of the national hospitals, which is great. Some parents didn't know that some national hospitals provide the service of developmental pediatricians, of occupational therapists and speech therapists. So first of all, they may not know. And if they know, they want to know a bit of background about this doctor, about this therapist. Maybe something that is quite common too is when a new family arrives to the group and they say, okay, we've been done this, and sadly the child is not improving. And the child gets very frustrated because they're going through the therapy and it's not, you know, he is not learning, she is not learning. Then they feel free to share the name of the place, or if they want to do it privately, if somebody else is fine. So then what happens is that other parents say, okay, but I tried this other center and this other center did prove good for us. Why don't you check this other center? Okay, that is also quite good, because sometimes it's not that the therapist is not good. Sometimes it's not that the child cannot learn. Sometimes it's that there is no connection. And when there is no connection, no matter how good the therapist is, no matter how willing the child is to take in the information, or the parents, it just doesn't happen. Other times, sadly, and this is a very sad thing, parents have been cheated. Okay. Yeah. And this is the sad thing when it happened recently, somebody came to me and said, I went for this treatment with this doctor in this hospital because I was promised it would cure my child. And when you hear the word cured, you know there is something going on and there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah.
So the parent came to me and said, well, there is bad feedback in our group about this doctor in the past. Why don't you ask the question in the group? Okay. So she did ask, and what we do in our group is, in order to keep it positive, because we all need positivity in our lives, right?
Yeah.
If you have a question in the group and there's going to be negative feedback, you can either say, give the negative feedback in the group, provided you're not insulting the doctor, you're just giving doctor, center, whatever, just giving bad feedback, but do not insult, do not disrespect anyone. Or you can choose to privately message the parent.
Yeah.
Some parents would say openly, or just PM me, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is one of the rules we have, because we cannot have too much negativity, because it's the least thing anyone needs,
Yeah.
especially in a parent support group. Some parents will say, oh, do you have any feedback about this school? It's not just centers, it's a school, it's a doctor, it could be a cardiologist, a geneticist, it could be even hairdressing, because some children get triggered when their hair is being cut.
Yeah.
And there are mothers who say, look, I don't know how to cut my son's hair and I cannot take him outside. Do you know anyone you can recommend? And other parents willingly share the experience. Maybe because we are in KL and KL is so big.
Yeah,
So
that's correct.
she might say, I need somebody in this area, this specific area. So if you know somebody in that specific area, you can recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same happens with dentist. Dentist is a question about dentist. Okay, questions about dentist is something we get like almost on monthly basis. Everybody knows a good dentist who can help me because my child. And then other parents would give you information about the dentist that proved to be positive for the child with a diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also remember you shared with me about food. Some of them, they have, some of them, they want to go out, but they are worried because the child is allergic and they didn't want to trigger, and maybe it's not a suitable diet. Like I remember you shared it to me. It's quite an eye opener as well, because to me it was like, wow, I didn't expect it to be very specific. Like it's a certain place of this, avoid this, because nowadays we wouldn't know. Especially after the lockdown, the food sectors have opened up, and yeah, we're just not sure. Like for example, as simple as allergic to nuts, even a little bit, we wouldn't know, because some of them they don't use the whole nut, but they use like a powder form or just a little bit, but we wouldn't know. So like when you shared it to me, I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it has happened a few times that either by recommendation of doctors, by following a specific diet, or because the child has been diagnosed either with an allergy or intolerance, they have to be put on a specific diet. Sometimes parents follow the same diet in order to make it a lot simpler for everybody. Yeah. So quite common is gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free. Nuts. Nuts seems to break havoc a few things in our bodies for some people. Soy is another thing, is another difficult ingredient these days. Some people may have a specific needs. For example, the red 40 ingredient in some products can trigger seizures, and some parents didn't know until the doctor told them. So can you help me find a kind of ketchup that doesn't have the red 40 thing? And then we tell them whatever you know you can share with the parents. Some parents, some children need dairy-free, gluten-free, nut-free. And I promise you, you can get it in Malaysia, okay? It's not as terrible and as hard, because luckily for us, in Asia, there is a lot of food that is dairy-free and gluten-free and nut-free. But I know at first it sounds extremely overwhelming. It happened to me yesterday. I do not eat gluten because I am celiac. And I was having lunch with somebody in a school, and I said, oh, I cannot eat that because it contains gluten. She said, oh, it must be so hard in Malaysia. I said, no, the opposite. It's actually easy to eat gluten-free in Malaysia, believe me. People think it's the opposite, but it's not. It's just that you have to know the place you are eating in, and to make sure, because for example, we chicken rice shouldn't have any gluten and shouldn't
Yeah.
have nuts and shouldn't have dairy, but you don't think about it, okay? And sometimes when parents are told, your child cannot eat dairy, your child cannot eat gluten, they are so overwhelmed, they forget that the simple nasi lemak is good.
Yeah.
That a simple char kway teow is okay.
Yeah.
Like there are so many things you can do in the house that your child has been eating outside, but you can cook it in the house. That is fine.
Yeah.
Other children are told to stay away from MSG. That is also fine, because in this case, some restaurants use MSG, but there are things you can do at home that don't need MSG. You shouldn't have MSG, you don't put it. So for some parents, it's not that they don't know it, it's that there might be a mental blockage when they're told, you cannot eat this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting when you tell parents, do you know that tapioca, taro, potatoes, rice, millet, sorghum do not have any wheat, do not have any gluten in them. And these things, these ingredients have been used, sago, one of them, have been used traditionally in Asian cooking for centuries. And they knew it, but it just didn't click.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Correct. So because I've encountered some family that when the child get diagnosed, they were like, oh, our family will not be normal again because we cannot go out and enjoy meal and things like so. So when you bring that up, I find it quite interesting because like, oh yeah, it's simple because this is the thing about using our like support group is our community information, because like I'm in the mental health. There's only so much I know about mental health because I don't dwell in other profession because that's not my part. But by having a support group or learn from parents, this is like as simple as having a meal. This is where I can share to parents like, yeah, sometimes things can be just as simple. Like you can still go out as a family, but to somewhere where all can enjoy it. But you don't need to change the whole menu. Okay, you only have to change the menu of that one person. So that doesn't mean that the family is not normal. So this is the thing. And then
Sometimes it's not that, okay, so maybe you can change the diet of one person, but sometimes you can do things adaptive in the family that change everybody's, and it doesn't have to be any less. You see, if you don't want the child to be left out, I mean, so you come to the group and you say, have any of you had any experience with this? For example, I discovered this dairy-free baker. Do any of you have any experience with this? And then if parents have had a good experience or a bad experience, they will tell you, okay, it's good. Or try to avoid, or make sure you specify and you clearly tell them, this is why the parent support group is, because you don't know after you get a diagnosis, and that could be any type of diagnosis for any condition, be neurological or physical. You don't know how it's going to affect you on your daily life. So by having the other parents telling you, I've been through what you're going through, and this is what we did. You know that as human beings, we have this strong need of belonging. Okay, you belong to your tribe, your community, your neighborhood, and so on. And when you are given this diagnosis, maybe you don't know anyone who has another diagnosis for another child, or maybe the child was born with a genetic condition and you don't know anybody. And maybe in a parent support group like ours, you don't find anyone with exactly same diagnosis, but you have people who have other diagnoses, who've been through similar experiences, who also have to go and look for doctors, therapists, schools, teachers, even a park, as simple as going to a park at certain time to make sure there is no water body in there so your child doesn't feel the need to jump into the water. It's as simple as that. I mean, some people, you don't think about it. But for example, it's known that in autism, some children are attracted to water because they love the pressure they feel on their bodies from the water. And we have parents of children with autism who say, I cannot go to a place where there is water because the child might run towards it. So as simple as, can you recommend a park where there is no water, or a place where there is no water? Or as simple as, I'm going on a holiday and it has to be quiet because the child has sensory integration issues and we cannot have too much noise, especially in the evening when the child is going to sleep. can you recommend a hotel, or would you be able to tell me how I can achieve that? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So this is where it's called a support group. The social support. There's only so much a certain centers or certain doctors can help, because we are in our own field. For me, I don't have the knowledge of the world in me. So I do rely learn and information from parents, because these are the things that can help parents to bring down the emotional distress from the society. Okay, like the example that I shared, like, oh, we can never be normal again because we cannot go out to have a meal. And then they say that one thing you shared about the diagnosis is the label, like we can never go out because our child will be labeled like this. So sometimes when I share with parents, I think it's in the Asian background, like someone younger, or if I share it to them in a way that it can be quite rude, they find it like, who are you to tell me? You don't even have a children with special needs, you won't understand me. So this is where I suggest to parents, find a support group. Okay, if you find it hard to talk to me or like ask me anything, I mean, even I myself learn from other parents, because I don't have the real life experience, but I have the information that I can share. So this is what I always told with parents. And also, like you mentioned, Ms. Rosa, diagnosis is very important. It is not to put a label, but because we need to know what to do next. With the diagnosis, the doctors will break down the treatment planning. So that's where we can, like, okay, here and there and whatnot. And then when like you hit another crossroad, should I start this? Should I start that? And then when you when you approach me and you ask me, but you still couldn't find your answer, you feel dilemma. This is where you can approach a support group, like what Ms. Rosa have shared, like financial. Okay, like for me, I always talk about that, because other than taking care of the child, number two biggest stress among children with among parents with children with special needs is financial. I have even some parents tell me that if I cannot afford the most expensive treatment, means I don't love my child enough. So yeah, for me it's like, no, because this is a marathon. It's not 100-meter run. Yeah. And then it's not about who getting first and whatnot. It's not being competitive, but it's being realistic. Okay, we need to like plan according to our financial, because financial burden is very heavy. Like, for example, yes, maybe for now, maybe before COVID, take it as example, I can afford certain, but during COVID, business is not good, economy is down. So how do I continue? So like sometimes this is where I learn from parents as well, like support group, like yourself, Ms. Rosa, where actually it's simple as feeling embarrassed and they have no way to share. Like, wow, I used to afford thousands of therapy. Now you want me to spend like, for example, no offense, public hospital, government hospital, which costs RM1. So this is where at first I was like, well, it makes sense. But then when I tried to understand from the parents and I learned, then I was like, okay, right? So parents felt embarrassed, like, oh, I have to queue up like any other people. And
Yeah.
and
But
then,
having said that, neurodiversity doesn't discriminate. It comes to all families, regardless of race, regardless of country of origin, religion. It comes to all of us. And even if you're not born with it, you may have an accident and suddenly you develop a condition. Some people got COVID and then developed dyspraxia as a result of it.
And
so you will also need your therapy. And honestly, believe me, there is no shame in going to a national hospital, a state-owned hospital, and getting the help for your child that you need. There's nothing wrong with it, I promise you. And I'm sorry, but if somebody's going to judge you for that, you might not want to have those people in your life. I know it sounds tough, but if some people are going to judge you because you are going through whatever, then you know who your real friends are.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes this also comes from family. You know, some people I know do not want to tell the family members the child has a diagnosis, this and that. It's fine. At the end of the day, it's between the parents and the child and the therapist or the education institution. It's also okay to go through stage where you cannot pay the most expensive. And by the way, I want to make this extremely clear. The most expensive therapy doesn't have to be the best therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
There is a very famous center in PJ where people were getting OT sessions for 140, 150, while everybody else was charging 200. It's a private center. And I know people who went to that center and the results were as good as those paying 180 or 200.
Yeah.
Okay, it depends. The amount charged depends a lot on location, you know, the services provided, whether they get the right numbers to be able to offer that.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with you not having the most expensive therapy for the child. In fact, having the most expensive therapy for the child might not be the best at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you shared, the most important thing is connection and also how parents interact and feedback. Because yeah, I know sometimes a bit hard to speak to a person like a counselor like me. So this is why I think last year onwards I started to introduce support group into my planning when I do it with parents and guidance, because I know that certain things that it's a bit hard to open up to a stranger and tell you what's wrong. Okay, explaining like blaming, like people start like last week we have parents share about, no, it's not my gene, it's your gene and things like that. So yeah, so these are the things that you know, when you can relate to someone, it's about connection, and when you can relate to someone in a group, you can share, they can guide you, like, because most of them will tell me I don't know my stuff, so it's okay, but please talk to these certain groups, because they have the experience. We all have the experience. It's just that maybe mine is not suitable to you. It's okay. The most important thing is you open up and you have place to go, and you are supported by people around you. You're not alone. Yeah. And then this is
the other good thing is that when you go into a parent support group, if it's via WhatsApp, you only give the information you want to give. You don't even have to give your name, okay? If you want to change your name, it has happened before. The same way I know about 3 people in our Facebook page, in a Facebook group, they created a different profile to be in that group, so nobody knows who they are. That is fine. It's not a problem. For whatever reason, you want to keep your privacy. You don't want to give your real name. You don't want to, you know, disclose certain things. It's okay. Nobody's going to judge. What we ask above all is respect. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. So this is where, like nowadays, there's so many treatment therapies for the children. But what I want to emphasize is, what about the parents? Because you all are the primary caregiver to the child. So yes, children is important, but parents are equally important. Okay, this is where, you know, because you are the one that bring the child and provide some financial stability to the child so that they can go for therapy. But it's also important, like sometimes take a breather, like, you know, talk to someone, like, you know, go for like maybe some of the parents are worried about being judged going out, you know, maybe, or you can find a friends in support group, like, hey, I know my child has this, your child has that. Maybe, you know, if we're together, okay, build up your confidence. Like a lot of parents that I met, they feel, I don't want to put it in a way that sound very bad, but like ashamed, because when you bring up the child and then people are like hovering around you and look at you like, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong?
Okay, like I said before, neurodiversity doesn't discriminate. If somebody, if you're in a park and somebody passes judgment on your child, honestly, in my heart, I would pray for that family, because it might not be the children, but it might be the grandchildren. And one day they could get an accident and one of them becomes neurodivergent. And like I said, it does not discriminate.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong, nothing to be ashamed about, no blame to be placed on one party or the other. You know your child, you know if your child gets triggered by a lot of noises, you avoid the place. And sometimes, like I said, if you are in a group and you feel lost, I want to go on holiday, but honestly, I don't know where. You may be able to ask in the group, okay, can I go? Can somebody recommend a place where there's peace and quiet, not too much noise, and it's not going to break my bank account? Because let's face it, this current situation has put most people on this planet in a tight financial situation, that there's no shame. There's no shame in recognizing that we are all cutting down on certain things. So maybe by doing that, you can actually get the right answer from the parents and say, look, I went to this small hotel that is maybe not what you're looking for, but there was no noise and they were so accommodating to us. And when we asked them not to put dairy in the food, they didn't put dairy in the food. And on top of that, there was a big garden where the children could run around and scream and shout for a while and nobody complained. So that is why you need a parent support group.
And also, this is another experience where, for me, working with parents with who are not Malaysian, unfortunately, you cannot utilize the public or the government or the national hospital. So, but like what Ms. Musa have shared, there is a budget private hospital as well. It doesn't have to be breaking your bank account, because like that's the law. We can't change a thing, and then we can see, you know, out of frustration, parents start blaming the government and whatnot. But well, it is what it is. But we can work around it. It's not like that's the only way. We can, you know, if we only have that money, then we work around with that. We don't need to spend on everything. And this is where you can have similar parents facing the same thing, and then you can share and work around, because the support is from society. It's very important, because yes, stigma is one thing, but it's also helping the parents to build the confidence and then going out and also do what they like to do, because this is part of support they need to carry out, to make sure that, you know, they are in the right mind. Nowadays I've seen rising in caregiver stress, and then they burn out because there's just too many things. Like taking care of children itself is not easy. Then now you have to take care of children with special needs. The stresses will be higher. Definitely, it's science, it's fact. We cannot run away. It's there. So, and then maybe like it's a hassle for you to see a counselor. Like, I have to set an appointment next week and blah 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 blah. And then, but having a social group is just like WhatsApp.
Something else that could that comes to mind now. For example, if say you have a limited budget, and for argument's sake, just argument's sake, you've been told to do occupational therapy and speech therapy, okay, and then in the report you're told, okay, maybe you can talk to your doctor, your psychologist, neurologist, psychiatrist. Say, okay, what do you think should come first, speech or OT? So then you can also ask other parents, how did you do it? How did you budget for this? I mean, this is a question that has come up before. So for me, when my son was diagnosed, we knew what is more prominent in his difficulty, what needs to be done first. And then we do this, we target this. Once 12 weeks are done, we move on to the next one. Because sometimes it's not that you don't want. And in the meantime, Maybe you cannot do OT and speech at the same time, and that's fine. So you start with speech, just for argument's sake, you start with speech. But for OT, you know you're not an occupational therapist, but there are certain articles you can read. There are certain activities you can carry out. For example, you can take your child to one of the parks in KL that has a playground, and there are certain things you can do in there, okay? So maybe you can say, oh, I don't know what to do. And maybe somebody can suggest, why don't you read this article? It gives certain ideas. Like, for example, in Facebook, every now and then, we make sure that activities for occupational therapy are shared, like lots of things to do with hands, eye-hand coordination, things with activities with feet. And this is something we can do in parks here, okay? Whether you are a national or an international citizen or foreign citizen, sorry. There are things, because the parks in Malaysia are open to everybody, okay? Open to everybody. Foreigners don't have to pay for this. Let's make this clear, okay? And in fact, more Malaysians should go to these parks. I strongly encourage people. People sometimes don't even know the park is there. And it's so free, and it's so beautiful, and it's so well maintained. So there are certain things that you might not be able to do at the same time, but maybe you go to the parent group and you say openly, look, we have a budget, we have budget restraints, and believe me, you are not the first, you're not the last. And there are lots of people like you. So I prefer to do speech because my child really needs speech now, but is there something that you can recommend? So maybe we can recommend a certain set of activities that come given by existing OTs internationally, and they are giving this information. Or maybe you can go to a park, or maybe, certain things that can be done.
And also, by asking parents, another parents can learn the priority of the parents. Like, why do you pick speech? Can I know? No harm in asking that, because if you ask me, I will ask the same thing as well. What do you think? Like, some of them, they go speech at about some of them, maybe because they are not around Klang Valley, where it's like heavily a lot of doctors here. Maybe you're from outside, then you just relocate. So, and you get diagnosed later in the child age, but it's okay. And then you can look at your priority, because let's say your child's going to a grade 1, okay, or standard 1 in the national school. Then you can look at the priority, like, do you want the child to speak first, or you want the child to write first? So by talking to other parents, like just now Ms. Rosa mentioned, that, I choose speech. So you can ask them, like, may I know why? So from there, you can learn, like, doctors have their opinion, but you also can learn from the support group in a way that, how do you make that decision? Because I'm at this crossroad. To me, both is important. The writing skill is important, but speaking as well. So this is where by talking to parents, you can find, that's how you make decision. Okay, and then
sometimes it's also a matter of fact that the parent was referred to a speech therapist that was too expensive. And then you recommend somebody who's cheaper. As simple as that, and then they can afford everything.
Yeah, correct. And then also maybe the area that you are is not KL, you're in is not KL or not Klang, and then have a waiting list, but maybe OT open up. So this is where you can ask, speeches, I have to queue up for speech. Is it okay for me to start OT? So these are the things. And I believe not all centers, but some, you can let them know if let's say you have speech and OT together in the same center, and because of budget constraint, maybe you can swap it over. I'm not sure, but you can try. I mean, there's no harm.
You can always talk to the centers. Most of them are very open-minded, much more than people think. Honestly, if you go to the center where your child is doing therapy and you tell them about financial restraints, and they don't listen to you and they ignore you and they try to push you to do something very expensive you cannot afford, I think it's fair to say that it's time to move on, because they're not respecting you. I'm sorry to say that. And that is something you can ask other parents too. Something else, for example, that has come up sometimes is potty training. How to potty train a child with certain condition. Something as simple as that, how do you potty train your child? And then other parents would tell you what they did, what techniques they use. And I know some people say, oh, it's very simple. It is very simple for a typical child. It's not simple for everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not judge here. So things like that have come up. For example, another thing, and some people might think it's silly, but maids.
Yeah. Yeah.
During the period, maids were not allowed to come in, and some families do need a maid. Okay, do not judge parents who use living maids in the house. And we have parents saying, I really need a maid. They're not allowed in. Do you know anybody who can come part-time to my house?
Yeah.
And whoever can help would help.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So this is the thing. The last one that I would share is the experience. Okay, this is something that I wish sometime I can like just make into a movie. Like because this experience, when we tell others, they will be like, oh, you're lying. No, when a support group, when parents talk to each other, when I interact and work with parents, experience is something that it's very important. Why? Because you can guide them in a proper way, so they don't feel because like going to doctors, multiple doctors is already overwhelming. And then what next? Because we already have, I've learned this from parents, so I share it out. But there are certain things that they are not openly shared with me, but they can share with parents. Because why? We don't want other parents to feel negative. Like they start, this is not good, that is not good. Everything is, we cannot stop everything from happening, but we can prevent. Okay, like but especially when it involves money. Like
Yes.
spend thousands and then like so we just try to, in a way that not to say that whatever we say is correct, but it's to provide the proper guidance. Okay.
I know families who have said, we have not had a holiday in 3 years. Not because we cannot go, but because so much is going for the therapy, that as a family, together with grandparents, we have not had a holiday in a long time. So what do you do? What do you say to these parents, right? I mean, I have experienced that myself. When my son was first diagnosed and we were going through a lot of therapy to overcome sensory integration issues, to overcome all the OT he needed, to overcome his movement, and we needed to do a lot of OT for 1 year, one single year. We barely went anywhere, not just holidays. I remember when we celebrated the first birthday of my son after his diagnosis, was the first time we were seeing people after 1 year. And so many of them said, we haven't seen you in 1 year. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, because I know people who are going through the same thing. So if you have no one to tell this, and you have no one to listen to you, they will not know what you're going through.
Yeah, correct. And then also to me, because I work, I do a lot of couple and marriage counseling. So to me, couple relationship and family is very, very important, because taking care of a child is not a one-person job. It's not like I tell my wife, okay, I go out and make money and you stay home. So it doesn't work with a normal child or neurotypical child. So then, so when we talk about children especially, so this is sometimes that, okay, I know it's in our culture, Asian culture, that not to open up the family issues to others. But this is another thing that why I highly suggest a support group, because if you're not comfortable sharing your family with me, it's okay. Because most of that's why the name parents support group, parents. So they like you have difficulty and these other things. This is the time where like you can choose to be anonymous and ask for suggestions, because this is the things that to be honest, this is what I have told a lot of family. You can't do this alone. You cannot do this alone. It's a team game. Okay, and like even I myself, I talk to parents. I approach like support group. It's people will say that, why would you do so much work? Because for me is to learn. Yeah, because I need this as part of my support to the parents as well. So when
Yeah.
parents come to me, do you know any support group? There you go. I have you. Pick, join. If it doesn't suit you, quit. Find another one.
Yeah, exactly. Try something. Okay, try to find a group that is positive. Like I said, there has to be a lot of positivity.
Yeah.
If it's a group where they try to sell you a cure,
Yes.
for thousands of ringgit and things like that, clearly you are in a group that only serves the purpose. Okay, it's not for parents. It's just to serve a commercial purpose, a business-wise purpose. That is a different thing. But in the parent support group, for example, you should be free to ask anything without being judged. And if somebody is being rude to you, that's why you need moderators. I have to say, you will need moderators, because sometimes maybe somebody oversteps the boundary and the moderator has to say, okay, this ends here. You have to correct what has happened. And I'm sorry, but if somebody has to be asked to leave, they will leave. I mean, they have to leave. We had parents in the group who left because they didn't like the fact that we had rules. And the rules are quite simple. If I ask you something, for example, do you know of any psychologist who can help me? You share with the whole group. You don't PM. But if you have to give a really bad feedback, you do it privately. You don't go
openly.
Yeah. Also, if you want to recommend a new place, or if I don't know, you find there is how can I say, a new center has opened and they have this very good thing, and it's a promotional thing. Basically, it's a business game. You do it only on Fridays. But if, for example, you know there is an event coming up, and this event is going to be Saturday, and if you only share on Friday, parents will not know about it. So you can share any other day of the week, because it's for the benefit of the people.
Yeah,
of the parents there. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you find out that there's going to be a special talk, and it's free. Everybody can attend. Just make sure you register by this date. It's fine for you to, share anytime. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So for those who join us today, that is the rule for my ND group. Very simple. And then how about age group? Do you have any particular age group for you to join the support group? No age group. Okay.
No.
So, and let's say they want to join the Facebook, they can just apply.
Oh yeah, but a few of us who are the administrators would actually approve it. The only thing we ask for is that the parents are parents of a child with special needs. It doesn't matter your job, because in both the WhatsApp and the Facebook, we have parents of children with special needs who also happen to be therapists or doctors or psychologists. It's fine. As long as you are the parent of a child with special needs, it's fine. Okay, so we don't care about your nationality, your qualification, your academic achievements. Don't care about anything. Okay. Just positivity and respect. That's it.
And then for them, that's for Facebook. So for those who join us later, I will put the Facebook. If I can get the link, I'll put it below this video on the comment box. So for those who are interested to join my ND group and the Facebook group, we can join them. So for WhatsApp, how do they go about
it? If they want to join, they can tell you, and then the person I'll be liaisoning with, they can tell me, and I will add them to the group.
Okay. So I'll,
I understand some people don't want to be in WhatsApp because the jobs don't allow them to be in WhatsApp. They cannot receive too many messages. That is fine. That's why also the Facebook group is important.
Yeah. So if they join the Facebook group, they can also request to be added to the WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, they can privately message and I will add them.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So for those who join us, if you know, you have Mind Story numbers and you want to join the group, you can pass your number to us or pass to Miss Rosa. And then for those who don't want to be in WhatsApp group, I will post the link of the Facebook in this comment box below this video. Okay, all right. So we are already at the end of the talk. And then thank you so much, Ms. Rosa, for
Welcome. My pleasure.
joining us, because it's very rare, and it take me quite some time to find a support group to openly share. So it's really wonderful to have you to share your experience, to share what your support group doing, and what's the purpose, the goal of the group, which I think it's very important. And a lot of the focus is on the child's intervention. And finally, I have someone who I can bring and share about their experience, especially parents.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much for asking me to be here today. My pleasure.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much, Ms. Rosa. I hope
Thank
next
you.
time we can invite you again.
Hopefully, you never know.
Okay,
Thank you
all
so
right.
much for
Okay.
everything. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.